What is going on, guys? It's the Variety Film Brothers. I'm Andrew.
I'm Thomas.
And in today's video, we're going to be ranking every single one of the MCU shows and movies, of which there are 41 at this point. Now, the MCU has been going strong since 2008, and we've already gotten 41 projects, and 2023 isn't even over. We haven't even, technically hit 15 years yet, and that is insane. You know, give me another franchise with 41 entries in it at all. Like, even Star Wars, which has been going for almost 50 years, only has, 13 movies?
I think so.
Something like that. And, now does that mean all the MCU movies and shows are good? That's what we're here to talk about. That's what we're going to find out. So, like I said, there are 41 titles in total, and the best way the math works is we're going to go back and forth with in sections of 8, but the first section is going to have 9, because of how that math works out. 41 is a bit of a tricky number to work with. So before we get started, be sure to like and comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one, because we're going to have a lot more content coming at you guys soon. All right, Thomas, let's get started.
All right, so at 41, I have The Incredible Hulk. At 40, I have Ms. Marvel. And 39, I have Age of Ultron. At 38, I have She-Hulk. At 37, I have Guardians, the Holiday Special. At 36, I have Eternals. 35, I have Thor, The Dark World. At 34, I have Black Panther 2. And at 33, I have Ant-Man and the Wasp.
So we actually have a lot of similar ones in this section. I think this might be the one we agree on the most, I think. I'll go on and give mine. At 41, I have The Incredible Hulk. So we have the exact same least favorite movie. At 40, we have The Eternals. 39, Thor, The Dark World. 38, Ms. Marvel. 37, Black Panther 2. 36, Black Panther. 35, Ant-Man and the Wasp. 34, Black Widow. And 33, Age of Ultron. So let's just get this out of the way real quick. Black Panther 2 is not a bad movie. I want to say that straight up. I know we have Black Panther 2 both, pretty much at the end of our lists. I have it at 37, and you have it at 34. I want to say Black Panther 2 is not a bad movie. I don't even think the first Black Panther is a bad movie, and I gave that in this section as well. There's just something about those movies that don't work for me. I think they try to juggle too much. I think the first movie has a really good villain with Killmonger, and I love T'Challa, by the way. Civil War, we'll get to that way later on. T'Challa kicks ass in that movie, dude. He is so cool. But these movies, they take it too slow. They don't show us the aspects of Wakanda that I'm genuinely interested in. I like seeing the different outfits, all the different sets they do, because we were watching the documentary for Black Panther 2 not too long ago, or not the documentary, but the behind the scenes. And dude, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Of any MCU set, if I could only have been on one of them, it might have been that one, because it was so gorgeous. So I want to say that I don't hate the Black Panther movies. I don't hate Black Panther. Rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. We all miss him. But I think another one that we kind of need to talk about is Age of Ultron, because this is kind of just an us thing, you guys. For a long time, one of the only Marvel movies that we had on DVD was Age of Ultron, and being who we are, still loving Marvel so much, we were probably watching Age of Ultron once a week.
Yeah.
There for a while. For probably almost a year.
Yeah.
So, Age of Ultron I don't think is objectively very great, but we do have a bias working against it. We just kind of have a bit of a bad experience with it, but I do dislike Ultron. I think they were trying to make Ultron too much like Loki. I think they would have benefited much greater by just making him the complete opposite, just making him this killer robot that you're just super scared of, but instead they were what's a dumb line that he says? Children!
Children!
I lost the word there. And it's not funny.
Yeah.
Anything else on that part of the list you think we need to talk about?
I have She-Hulk on my 38.
Okay, I haven't gotten to She-Hulk yet. Is there something you wanted to say about that?
The reason why I have it on 38 is because I think it's a little, I think it's really bad to have another character that's way more liked than She-Hulk to be introduced in your show.
We're talking about Daredevil?
Yeah, that that people want to see.
Mhm.
So like 95% of the people who watch She-Hulk were like me, just
waiting
just
for
waiting,
Daredevil.
just waiting. For
No,
Daredevil.
you're totally right, and we'll talk a little bit more about She-Hulk in just a minute. So I don't want to give too much about it here. So I guess we'll go on and move on to our next section.
Yeah. You want to start this time?
Sure.
Mm.
All right, at number 32, we have She-Hulk. Number 31, Guardians Holiday Special. Number 30, Hawkeye. 29, What If. 28, Thor Love and Thunder. 27, Ant-Man 3. 26, Captain Marvel. 25, Falcon and Winter Soldier. All right, so I guess before we break that down, you'll go on and give yours.
Yeah. All right, so at 32, I have Black Panther. At 31, I have Captain Marvel. At 30, I have Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah, you said Black Panther instead of Black Widow, though.
Oh.
Number 32, you have Black Widow.
Whoops.
No, you're good. We'll keep going.
So yeah, 32 is Black Widow, not Black Panther. My bad. And 31 is Captain Marvel. 30 is Hawkeye. 29 is What If. 28 is Falcon and the Winter Soldier. 27 is Ant-Man 3. 26 is Doctor Strange. And 25 is Love and Thunder.
All right, so we have a lot of similar ones here too. Falcon and Winter Soldier were both on this part of the list. Thor: Love and Thunder, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Both had What If. Both had Hawkeye.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we don't have very many disagreements here at all. Let me see. Is there anything we need to explain here? I actually want to give a little bit. No, I was going to say something about She-Hulk. The only thing I dislike about She-Hulk, really, is that they straight up admitted that they didn't know how to write a courtroom drama. Like they said they just didn't know enough about it to really write about it. And I was like, why didn't we have the Daredevil team on this? Because they wrote some really captivating stuff, like with the Punisher episodes.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you get that far?
I think so.
Yeah, the Punisher episodes, so good. That might be the most like dramatic courtroom episodes, or just anything that I've seen in a courtroom on TV. So great, and I just feel like they got Charlie back. Why not bring some of the writers for the show back too? Unless there's like some drama, some bad blood there. But like, if they don't know how to write a courtroom drama, why are we writing a courtroom drama? You know what I mean? Like, either write something else, or like write about a completely different character. You know what I mean? I just don't know what they were thinking there. I don't hate She-Hulk though. I like it more than most people do. So I'll defend it a little bit. But when the writers straight up admit that they don't know what they were doing, I can only defend it so much.
Yeah.
Anything else we need to talk about on this part of the list? It was mostly a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah.
Do we both have Captain Marvel here?
Yeah.
Yeah. I do want to give just a little bit of love for Captain Marvel, because that just doesn't get done a lot. I actually like the movie, and I don't hate Captain Marvel the character. I think there was actually a lot of really interesting stuff in that movie, and I like that it took place in the 90s, and they didn't try to like shoehorn it between Infinity War and Endgame when it actually was released. I think we need more MCU movies like that jump back into previous decades or between previous movies, but don't make it too confusing. Because it's actually a pretty decent standalone movie. I mean, it definitely works better as part of the MCU, but you can just watch Captain Marvel, I think, and not be too confused.
Yeah.
So that's just something I like about it. Anything else you want to talk about on that part?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, if you guys want to hear more about Ant-Man 3, that was on both of this section of our lists. We just did a video on that yesterday. Be sure to check that out. I will put a little thing up in the corner, either here or here. My brain's not working today, so I can't. It'll be somewhere up there if you guys want to check that out. Want to move on to the next part of the list?
Yeah, for sure. So, at my 24th spot, I have Ant-Man. 23, Far From Home. 22, Avengers. 21, WandaVision. 20, Shang-Chi. 19, Civil War. 18, Thor. 17, Iron Man 2.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of similar stuff here too. I've got, at 24, I have Ant-Man. 23, Werewolf by Night. 22, Iron Man 2. 21, Shang-Chi. 20, Spider-Man Far From Home. That's going to give me some hate. 19, WandaVision. 18, Doctor Strange. And 17, Doctor Strange 2. Alright, so I think we both have... no, I have Werewolf by Night here. I want to say real quick, I loved Werewolf by Night. I really enjoyed that. It is just really hard, to find a good spot for that in this list, in a genre of stuff that is just not like it at all. Because I'm not much of a horror person. Like I like it, I have an appreciation for it, but I'm much more action drama and even probably more romance than horror as well. But they did it really well, and I like the old timey feel of it all, like the 1950s, 60s feel of it. They did really good with that, and so don't think that since it's this far back in the list that I just like hate it or something. Um, I also really love Iron Man 2. Like if this were a personal like nostalgia list, this would be like at number 5. But it's not a great movie, Iron Man 2. I love it, but it's not a great movie. So I got to keep my biases in check a little bit there. Um, I think that's about all I want to talk about from this section, though. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Nothing else you want to bring up?
No.
Okay, let me double check real quick. Oh yeah, Spider-Man Far From Home. I might get some comments about that. I actually really like that movie too. I just think it's a movie that has a lot of trouble sticking to its own rules, and I think it really drags in some parts. It's one I need to rewatch though. Maybe after a rewatch, I would rank that a little bit differently. But I also have both of the Doctor Strange movies in here. I'll give a quick explanation for that. I have Doctor Strange 2 at 17 and Doctor Strange at 18, and I like both of those movies a lot. I really do. The only reason that Doctor Strange 2 edges out just barely above Doctor Strange is because I think we all know by now that the Marvel Cinematic Universe really uses a formula for their movies. Like, they all are kind of the same in a way. And I think Doctor Strange, the first one, really kind of suffers from that. I think if, like, this would be one of the movies I'd be most interested to see outside of the MCU. Like, done in a completely different way, a completely different style. I think that would be really interesting to see, because I think it's a good movie, but I think there's just something really bland about a lot of it to me. But I think the story is really good. And Doctor Strange 2 is kind of the complete opposite. I don't think the story is too great, but it's presented in a really interesting way. You've got a lot of crazy shots. You have a lot of like really interesting cinematography. Well, I guess the same could be said for the first one. But basically, it's just executed a little bit better visually. But they're pretty close in quality, in my opinion. So, like, really, it's kind of a toss-up between those two for me.
Yeah. I just really like the demonic thing that happens in Doctor Strange 2.
Oh, the like the dragon heads, I think, and the skull like cape. Yeah, that stuff's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. A lot of really interesting, creative stuff that got a lot of people mad. A lot of people got really mad at that movie. But we won't get too much into that now. You want to go on and give your next set, or I guess it's my turn?
Yeah.
Okay. So at 16, we have Captain America, the First Avenger. 15, Thor. 14, Spider-Man No Way Home. That's going to give me even more hate. 13, Winter Soldier. Also going to get me hate. 12, Civil War. 11, Guardians of the Galaxy 2. 10, Iron Man 3. And 9, Avengers.
Okay. So mine is at 16, Guardians 2. 15, Iron Man 3. 14, Werewolf by Night. 13, Doctor Strange 2. 12, Captain America. 11, Winter Soldier. 10, Guardians 1. And 9, Homecoming.
Okay. Any of these you want to talk about?
I would just like to say that I haven't seen the Winter Soldier in a long time, but I have seen the fight scenes from that movie, and I really do like it.
Oh yeah, they're very. The whole movie really is pretty great. There's going to be a lot of people very upset that we don't have this in our top 5. But it's just like it's kind of hard to talk about this movie without saying what I love about it, but also just like that it's not really my favorite. because I think a lot of the cinematography in it is really bland. It's a really bland looking movie to me. The choreography is great, like such great scenes to rewatch. Um, because like especially the Steve and Bucky scenes, like we talk about those quite a bit. We take quite a bit of inspiration from that, and so much emotion in this movie too. So much great stuff. Steve versus Bucky at the very end, and Bucky being so conflicted. It's such emotional stuff. Um, there's just something about it to me that's just like really slow and really just I don't know. It doesn't stick out to me like it does for a lot of other people. But I'm not the biggest Captain America fan. Like I love him, don't get me wrong, but like I just don't rewatch the Captain America trilogy like once a month or something like some people do, I think. So, sorry about that. Um, anything else I need to explain here? Spider-Man No Way Home. I really enjoyed that movie. I had such a fun time at the cinema seeing that movie. But I can't help but watch it and think that like it was just made by a room full of people just trying to like desperately get me in the seats. You know what I mean? Like because I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, like just absolutely huge. And but this just feels a little baity to me. You know what I mean? Like let's bring in Toby, let's bring in Andrew, let's bring in all of these people and just like it doesn't even matter what we do after that. As long as they're all there, we can do whatever we want. Like we're going to make so much money. And the plot is just a little thin to me, you know, like and Doctor Strange even kind of points that out. Um, he's like you came to me to, change the fabric of existence before giving them a call back, and I'm like, that's a really good point. And I feel like they thought about that in the writers' room and then they were like, how about we just give a line about it, like a funny line about it. And I also don't think under basically any circumstances Spider-Man would be able to beat Doctor Strange.
Yeah, like I just don't think so. Even if Peter was great in geometry,
it's such a corny line. Yeah. He's like, what's more powerful than magic?
Math.
And then it's just a little too much for me. I mean, I love the movie. I had such a fun time with it, but for me, it's just not a top 5. But I get for a lot of people that it's just like too good to pass up on. I never thought we'd see Toby and Andrew again. I mean, I didn't really want to be honest. Not that I dislike either of them. I mean, I'm not crazy about the Amazing Spider-Man movies, but I think Andrew Garfield is a fantastic actor. He's probably the best actor to have played Spider-Man, even though I don't think his Spider-Man movies are very good. One more thing I want to talk about in this section is Iron Man 3. A lot of people have Iron Man 3 in like their probably 20s, and Iron Man 3 is one that I do have a little bit of a bias for it because I just love Iron Man so much. Tony Stark is my favorite MCU character. But I also think this movie is just really, really fun to watch. Like there's so many awesome scenes of Tony outside of his suit having to improvise and find just really crafty ways to get out of tight spots. And I just think that's awesome. I just think that's super fun. And it's shot really well. Like it looks really good to me. It's a really good looking movie to me. I like that they threw it in around Christmas time. I know that that's a Shane Black thing. The guy that directed that movie is Shane Black. He sets a lot of his movies around Christmas, and he just kind of can't help himself, I guess. I also really like how it takes some plot points from the Avengers, and we see like Tony dealing with some anxiety, some panic attacks after having dealt with that. Because I think a lot of people don't like to see their heroes weak, even though like it kind of makes sense for some people's brains to explode after realizing they're not alone in the universe. And I think Tony especially would do that. And I like that it kind of like kicks his paranoia into maximum overdrive. And he builds, up to Mark 42? So he builds like 35 suits between the Avengers and Iron Man 3, which is only like a few months apart.
Yeah.
And so like, I think it's really good. I think it's captivating. I think it's a fun time. Anything else you wanted to say from this section?
I don't think so. I'm surprised that I ranked Werewolf by Night at 14.
I was very glad that you did that, honestly. I'd like to see Werewolf by Night really higher up on some people's lists. I was kind of disappointed I had to put mine at 23, because like I said, I really love it, and I want to see more things like it. But in a genre that's just like like I said, I'm just not as much of a horror fan. I'm more of an action drama fan. So it just doesn't really stack up against a lot of those projects to me, and a lot of the characters in it just aren't very well known characters. You know what I mean? At least not compared to like Iron Man, Spider Man, Captain America, things like that. So it's kind of working with a disadvantage there. But please go watch Werewolf by Night. I feel like it's going to be one on this list that most people probably haven't seen. Please go watch it. It is worth what, only like 45 minutes, 50 minutes. So it's worth that time. All right. I think I started that last one first, right?
Yeah.
All right. You want to kick off your top 8 then?
Yeah. So my top 8 is, at number 8 is Ragnarok, 7, Loki, 6, Iron Man, 5, Black Panther, 4, Endgame, 3, No Way Home, 2, Infinity War, and number 1 is Moon Knight.
I'm still shocked at that. Like, I know I said I wasn't surprised at your list since I've already seen it, but like that's still really surprising to me. I want to give my top 8. At number 8 we have Ragnarok. Number 7 Moon Knight. Number 6 Loki. Number 5 Endgame. Number 4 Homecoming. Number 3 Guardians of the Galaxy. Number 2 Iron Man. Number 1 Infinity War. All right, so we still have several of the same things here. But let's talk about Moon Knight first. Let's get that out of the way, because I know people are probably flabbergasted to see that at your number 1 spot. So just explain to us for a minute why Moon Knight is your number 1. I'm not trying to sound antagonizing. I'm genuinely curious.
I just think it's really interesting having a character with multiple personalities, which one of them being, was it Steven, right? Having like no idea about this like at all, just thinking he's going to work every day. Everyone still hates him, but I mean, just thinks he's an average guy. But then like he starts having these like weird dreams, but that's actually his other personality. And also, I just think the suit's awesome.
Oh, the suit's fantastic. Oh, the suit is amazing. I could just look at that suit for hours. But I love Moon Knight as well. I might not have it at my number 1, but I love it. Oscar Isaac did such a fantastic job. Oh my God, he can play 2 different characters and just change between them on a dime. And I don't think a lot of people really understand how much that really takes. Especially the take where he switches from Mark. Is that his name, Mark? The other one?
I think so.
See, I get Mark and I know, okay, it's Mark. I get Mark and Jake confused because like Jake is the one that shows up at the very end and shoots Harrow in like the post-credit scene. They're very similar sounding names to me for some reason. But Mark, the scene specifically where he switches from Mark crying and grieving over his mother, who he somewhat hates but also loves at the same time. He's just in the middle of the street, on his knees, just bawling his eyes out. And 3 seconds later, he's Steven confused on the phone. Hey, Mom, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, I've done it again. You know, and 3 minutes ago, he was like, his face was red, tears were coming out of his eyes, and he was on the ground, just, you know, a complete mess. And, oh, dude, it's so good. It's so emotional. Like, the show has its problems. I think it gets a little slow for me at times. And I think Layla's character is kind of wasted for the most part. They don't do a lot with her. I don't think Harrow is the most interesting villain. I think it's a really good-looking show, though. I think for the budget they were working with, they made it look really good. So yeah, I'm glad that we both have Moon Knight in this section, because I've seen some people really hate on Moon Knight. And if it's not your cup of tea, it's not your cup of tea. But my God, I hope we see him again.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God. All right, anything else you think you need to talk about?
So I have at my number 5 spot Black Panther.
Yes. Let's talk about that for sure.
Yeah. So now I'm just a person who's really into hand-to-hand combat, and Black Panther did do this, but the reason it's at 5 is because the CGI kind of lacks a little bit for me.
See, honestly, the bad CGI of that scene is probably what knocked Black Panther back at least 10 spots for me.
Dang.
See, like, I know that sounds really superficial, especially because in the last video we were talking about how much like we defend CGI. And because I do, I'll totally be like, hey, that movie doesn't suck just because it has CGI in it. Or like, who cares if the CGI isn't like 100% the best in every single scene? But oh my God, when it's at your most like pivotal scene, that's got to look good. I would much rather like an earlier, like not very important scene in the movie look bad. than like the most important moment of the final fight. Like, oh my god, like the scene, the shot where where T'Challa grabs onto the pole and then does like the swing around and like the camera tries to stay on him. Oh, it looks like a PS2 video game. It looks like it's like 15 years old, and it's so sad, especially because like they made a practical suit for Black Panther, and in some shots we do get to see that, particularly in Civil War. We kind of glossed over Civil War. Backtrack to that real quick. Civil War. I know I already said this. T'Challa kicks ass in that movie. He's freaking awesome. Coming back to Black Panther, he's just not. It doesn't look great. Like they made a practical suit, and then they just CGI'd over it. I realize, like, in some shots you are gonna have to do that, but like it just looks so much worse, in my opinion. I'm glad there's love for this movie. I hope we get more movies, like it, but better. But it's so distracting to me because like, and the scene after that though is really powerful, where Eric decides to take the knife out of his chest and die. That's really powerful stuff. And I'm so glad there wasn't much CGI in that shot to ruin that. But I know I sound like such a hypocrite about the CGI, I know. But it ruins that fight, man, because that could have been really good choreography. And it probably was. I'm sure two people still performed that. But like when it looks like a 20-year-old video game, I'm sorry, I can't appreciate it nearly as much. So that's I think that's the biggest thing that we differ on in this list. And after I guess after I talk about my last points, we'll go over a couple of our biggest differences before we end the video. But was there anything else you wanted to talk about on that part of your list before I get to mine?
I have No Way Home at 3.
At 3, yeah, that's another big difference that we had. Yeah, talk for a second about why that's at your number 3. Why is it so good?
I just really like the end scene of how like there's cracks in the sky and Peter sacrifices himself.
It is a really cool visual.
Yeah, for like the whole world,
mm-hmm.
And then we see MJ and Peter's relationship broken apart, and it kind of makes me sad.
Oh yeah, so quick question. This is kind of a little bit of a hot take, or I guess depending on what you say, a little bit of a divisive opinion. Do you think it was right for Peter to not bring Ned and MJ back into his life?
I don't... probably not.
You think it was right for him not to?
Yeah.
See, because on one hand, by keeping them out of his life, he's protecting them. But on the other hand, he's disregarding their wishes and going against what they want by, kind of choosing to not be friends with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand both sides of the argument, but, like, Peter's lost so much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's lost his uncle, he's lost his aunt. And that, like, now he's technically lost, like, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And, I totally understand not wanting to bring that on his friends. And you could say, well, that's selfish of him. His friends want to be in his life, so he should honor that. But, like, these people also don't know who he is.
Yeah.
So, like, they're, in a way, not really the same people.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, it's not really...
Yeah.
I think he made the right decision. You guys can come for that all you want to. But I think the reason that I don't have it nearly as high is because, for one, I said it's kind of just... Like I said, it's kind of baity. But also the... excuse me. The spell at the very end. Dude, it hurts my brain.
Mm.
Every time I try to think about it, because, like... He still... Like, Peter still exists. He always existed. But, like, no one knows who he is.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not going to get into that too much here because I could go on that for a while. But basically, I'll just leave it at, it gets weird.
Yeah. Like, there's, like, certain details that you can't really leave out, or else it would leave Peter as, like, non-stable. Because he does get an apartment.
Mm-hmm.
So you need at least some identification for that.
And a job. But, like, where's he getting money from? Yeah, he doesn't have a job. I don't get...
Spider-Man.
I don't get this apartment for free. But he also... What was I going to say? He also was just outed as Spider-Man, like, publicly. And I get, like, everyone would forget about that. But if it's recorded, if it's, like, in the, like, on the internet, like, everywhere, isn't someone going to find that again relatively fast and be like, guys, how did we forget about this? Because I don't think the spell actually wiped any data. It just erased memories, right?
I'm pretty sure it erased all physical and, like, verbal like things about Peter Parker.
I mean,
I'm
maybe,
pretty
but
sure.
I don't know, but he's taking his what is it? His test. It's like makeup high school test,
Mm-hmm.
and you got to have basic information to take that. So
Yeah.
like he's still got to have like a social security number and things like that. This is exactly what I said we weren't gonna do was get into it.
It's hard not to.
I know, but let's just gush about Infinity War for a second. I don't think there's anything else I want to talk about because we both have Iron Man. Check out our Iron Man video, our Iron Man review variety discussion, because we just gush about Iron Man like crazy in the video because it deserves it. Iron Man deserves it. That's all I'm gonna say about that. But Infinity War is just fantastic.
Yeah.
It's what brought me back into Marvel. I was an Iron Man kid. I wasn't really a Marvel kid. I was an Iron Man kid. Same with like Batman. I wasn't a DC kid. I was a Batman kid. I really just kind of picked and like chose my favorite characters from each without getting attached to the whole franchise. But so when the Iron Man movies came out, I was relatively young and I was fully on board for that. And then the Avengers came out and I was like, oh, that's really cool too. But then sometime after Iron Man 3, I kind of just jumped off the MCU train. I just wasn't really on board with it anymore. I kind of, got hooked on other things. And then Infinity War, I actually watched Infinity War without having seen the majority of the MCU movies. So I was so lost, but oh my god, I was so in love at the same time. I didn't know who the Guardians were. I didn't know, I didn't recognize Captain America at all. I literally didn't realize that was Captain America for probably 30 minutes. But I mean, in my defense, his point, like the point of his new look was to look really different. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, after I watched that, I was like, dude, I gotta get back into this. And I literally, I literally watched the MCU for the first time in probably the worst way you actually could. Like, the only ones I'd seen before Infinity War were the Iron Man movies, Thor, the Avengers, and Civil War. It was so weird, dude. And then I watched Infinity War. I was like, oh my god, this is fantastic. Like I've been missing out on so much. And then I like went in and kind of just randomly filled in the gaps. But honestly, I wouldn't have done it any other way because I'm still here. I'm still a huge fan of it as a result. But it's such a great movie.
It is. Yeah, it is. It is. And like,
I'm
just saying the same thing.
There's not much to argue there. Like I think it's just such an incredible feat because there are so many characters in it.
Yeah.
And it would have been so easy to screw that up. Mm-hmm. But they handle it so well.
Yeah. It also has like a lot of fatalities.
Yes.
Like a lot.
Yeah, like we literally just said yesterday in our Ant-Man video. It starts out with 2 casualties, Loki and Heimdall. And immediately you're like, oh, Thanos is a threat.
Yeah. There
are so many Marvel villains that just do not really feel like a threat. And with Thanos and his group, you get the sense of how bad they are, like basically immediately. Mm-hmm. It's just really well done.
Yeah, for like a person who thinks by eliminating half of the world, the other half are gonna thrive and not mourn over the loss of what they just,
Right, like Thanos, like his motivation, it's made so clear, so fast. You know what he wants throughout the whole movie. There's so many villains, again, with not very clear motivations. You don't really know what they want. They're just kind of there to be the stand-in bad guy. But with Thanos, you know what he wants, and you get where he's coming from, too. You get that it's messed up, but you also get, like, it's very easy to understand how it's messed up, but also how it's beneficial. Mm-hmm. It's really well done.
Yeah, it is.
All right, so what are our biggest disagreements here going over it real quick? We know Black Panther. We definitely disagreed on that. We already talked about that, though.
She-Hulk, 38.
I mean, I only have it at 32, so that's pretty similar. They were just in different sections, so yeah. I think it kind of made it seem more different than it really was.
Where do you have Werewolf by Night?
23. We already talked about that, too. I love Werewolf by Night.
Yeah. I mean, really the only big difference is the Black Panther.
Yeah, that was the biggest one. For sure.
Yeah. I'm just a sucker for hand-to-hand combat.
No, yeah, I hope we get more on that, too. And I think the Daredevil series is really going to knock it out of the park with that. Yeah. All right, I think that's just about everything. Yeah. Like, honestly, I thought this would be a much longer video. We're only at 34 minutes. I thought we'd be here for, like, a really long time talking about this. But I think we have a good amount of agreements and disagreements.
Mhm.
And I think where we disagree, we understand why. And so, yeah, no fist fights today,
No.
unfortunately. We'll have to do that next week.
Yeah.
But yeah, let us know what you guys' rankings are. Like, I don't care if you write all 41 down or just 5 or 10. I'll read the whole thing. We'll check it out. Like I said, I love ranking videos. Love to hear what you guys think.
Mhm.
I think that's gonna be it for us, though.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys so much for watching the video this far. Really, even if you just made it half this far. And we'll see you guys in the next one.
Peace.